What's up everybody, Jack here from Half Chrome, and this is the Happy Model Mobula 8. This is a whoop, and I don't know if I'd call this a tiny whoop because it's pretty darn big when you look at it compared to traditional whoops. This is the Mobula 7 or even the tiny Mobula 6. It's absolutely a bigger, more powerful whoop. You can fly this thing on a 1S or a 2S battery, and that's what really makes this thing pretty darn fun. Now this is the analog version, and there will be an HD version released soon. So if you're looking for something like that, stay tuned. We'll get one of those on the channel later. But holy cow, is this thing a lot of fun, both inside and out. And I really didn't think flying this thing indoors would be my jam, but there's a trick to it. Stay tuned, we'll learn all about this guy, the Mobula 8. Okay, so the first thing I have to address is this camera and canopy. You'll notice it's not original. It shipped to me black and it had a different camera, but my camera was dead on arrival. It didn't work, and actually, I think the culprit was the delivery man. My package here was pretty darn squashed. I believe it was delivered by Ace Ventura himself. And it did suffer a little bit of damage to the frame in that it was bent, and that was perhaps the culprit also with the camera. Either way, I had an old ant camera laying around, so I put that in here. So this is an old ant camera with a different lens, so it's not going to be the exact same picture, not the exact same picture quality, but it's going to be close. And you know what? It's analog, so chances are you're not in this thing for the video quality. You're in this thing for fun, and that's what this will deliver. All right, so let's talk about the specs on this guy. It is, like I said, an 85mm whoop. We've got some beautiful, powerful brushless motors. They're 1103, 11,000 kV motors. We've got an all-in-one flight controller. This is the X12, and you can get it with a few different receiver options. Mine is the ELRS version. There's a FlySky, there's an FR-Sky, and there's also, you can get it with a Crossfire additional receiver, or you can get it plug and play, and you can solder your own on. So lots of options with this guy. ESC is rated for 12 amps, and my VTX is up to 400 milliwatts. That means you're going to get good video signal at a decent range. Now you can fly this thing on 1S or 2S batteries, and we have an XT30 battery connector. Now there was a full tray on the bottom, and I clipped that out. Actually, I was finding my GMB 450s to be really tight, and I preferred flying on these GMB 520s, just a little bit bigger, a little bit more flight time, and it was really a tight fit. So I clipped that tray out, and then I put a rubber band in its place, and that worked really well for all the batteries I used, whether it was a 2S or even a 1S battery. Now flying this guy is an absolute blast, and it's probably the most capable whoop I've flown outside on a 2S battery. It didn't feel like a tiny whoop. It felt almost like a toothpick. Really performed quite well. I'm a big fan of tri-blade props versus, say, something like this that came with the bi-blades. Tri-blades, I feel, just give you a little bit more grip. The combination with these motors and this super light drone, it's only 43 grams. It really performs pretty well, and it is a blast to fly. It does come with extra props, some screwdriver, prop removal tool, and an extra canopy as well. Now I didn't use this canopy because the side screw was just too large for the camera that I had. So the Ant camera that I use, older, different, and different screw size. So you also get a remote to adjust the camera, and of course some stickers. Now it is ELRS 2.0, so I didn't bind it directly to the internal module of my Boxer here. I was running an external ELRS module. I don't want to go through the hassle of all of that download and stuff, so this works just fine, and I run all of my old ELRS 2.0 stuff on this module. Now I did try flying this indoors on 2S, and that's really pretty powerful, and I don't recommend it unless of course you're going to put in a throttle cut. Now I built a throttle cut on a switch here so that I can dial my throttle back. If you want to learn how to do that, I'll link down below to that video, but that's one way to do it. But actually I really enjoyed flying this on a 1S battery. Now included in the kit is this little converter where you can go from a PH 2.0 to an XT30. So if you have a lot of these little stick batteries laying around, you can fly it on this. And yes, it is absolutely underpowered for flying on a 1S battery, but I think that's great. That really makes this a lot easier to control indoors, and if you want to fly inside, control is something you need. I wouldn't recommend it for a beginner, but with this 1S battery, underpowered, super maneuverable, easy to fly inside, yeah, go for it. And then when you get a little bit better and more comfortable in flying, you grab a 2S battery, you take this thing outside, and you let it rip. Now this is not something that came in my kit, but something I tested out and something I would definitely recommend. You take two 1S batteries and you can then put them together and fly it as a 2S. Now it's not quite as nice as just flying a 2S battery, but basically it's the same. You just have a little bit extra weight, and then we're dealing with the PH 2.0 connectors, which aren't as efficient as this XT30. But yeah, it works just well enough. We get it in there, and yes, we can fly this on two 1S batteries. So something definitely to think about, especially if you have a lot of these batteries laying around or you're planning to start on a 1S. I'll throw some links down below in the description to a connector like this. If I can find one, you can build your own. Also the batteries that I really like. Now, I was getting flight times of about 3 minutes on 1S and about 4 minutes on my 2S 450 batteries. You get a little bit bigger battery, you get a little bit more flight time, and that's definitely something to recommend. So the question is, do you want, a Mobula 8 or a Mobula 7 or a Mobula 6? Now, that's a really hard thing to kind of, decide. I love this 8. It's a blast. If you're going to fly outside, you want to do some acro flying, this is absolutely the most capable of that. Now, like I said, it is underpowered on 1S, which is good for a beginner if you're learning to fly indoors. Kind of gives you the best of both worlds. Now, if we go to the small one, the Mobula 6, this is really best for flying indoors. Now, this is an HD version, HD0. I love that. Better picture quality. And that will come to the Mobula 8 soon. It's gonna add a little bit of weight. But if you're just gonna fly indoors and only indoors, yeah, that's where the Mobula 6 shines. So what about the Mobula 7? Yeah, this is kind of the in-between. It's powerful enough to fly outside, but it gives you a little bit more power inside as well. This is probably what I recommend for most beginners, just because it is a better suited flyer indoors than the 8. But again, it's only a 1S battery, so if you want to get outside and move around, that is when you want to upgrade to this 8. Lots of fun to fly. Now I have reviewed a couple of other options. These are Beta FPV drones. This is the Meteor 75, the Meteor 85, both lots of fun to fly. And some of the better drones coming out of Beta FPV. I probably still prefer the Mobula 8 versus the Beta FPV one. And this one here, while it's HD0, that makes it a lot heavier. So really a solid option. Anyway, what do you think? What do you think about the Mobula 8? Would you opt for the 7? Would you go with the 6? Are you gonna go with a Beta FPV drone, or is this your jam? I really like it. Flies like a toothpick outside, but you have this extra bumper guard. It's gonna protect things that it's bumping into, and it's gonna protect the drone. Really pretty darn durable. Definitely something worth checking out. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. Good luck, everyone, and happy flying.